Welcome to Cafe Cabaret. The title of today's presentation is The Wrong Hero, No Ordinary Man. And in order to perhaps best explicate the theme of today's show, this will be a half-hour show featuring the wrong hero as he discusses certain pertinent aspects of his life and, in addition, wraps up some unfinished business from the week before. And so, here he is, the wrong hero in No Ordinary Man. Hi, I'm the wrong hero. I heard you missed me. Well, now I'm back. Straight from the horse's mouth. Yeah, well, the wrong hero has a real tendency to separate the sheep from the goats. Now, you might say, listen, you old goat, that's a bunch of bull. This is a fine kettle of fish, chubby. Don't you go crying any crocodile tears over us, you may say. We're as happy as a clam. We feel like we've been loaded to the gills in your absence. You're nothing but a red herring. In fact, you're neither fish nor a fowl nor good red herring. You're as slippery as an eel. You're as slick as snot. You're as slick as lard. Now, you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find a prince. Especially when there's so many people out there trying to pull a badger game on you in the bull and bear markets. Well, I have this to say to you. Don't badger me. Because all I'm trying to do is keep the wolf from the door. Now, you may say that because I am frequently flying into senseless rages and hurting myself, I am like the bear and the tea kettle. Well, the problem is that I demand the lion's share of the attention. And when I don't get it, I'm as mad as a March hare. Even after I rub my lucky rabbit's foot. When I go on one of my rampages, it's best if you all just play possum. Well, I'd like to mention that I'm as sly as a fox and I can weasel out of anything, and that this program on Cafe Cabaret with the wrong hero is basically a white elephant. Now, I may be as savage as a bear with a sore hand, but I want you to know the original words to Pop Goes the Weasel. Every night when I come home, the monkey's on the table. I take a stick and knock him off. Pop goes the weasel. Another verse of the original song went, up and down the city road, in and out the eagle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel. Well, pop is, of course, common slang for pawn. And a weasel was a common nickname in those days for either a tailor's iron or a certain tool used by hatters. And this leads to the assumption that the original monkey on the table was nothing more than a figment of some poor stiff's delirium tremens. So now you know the origin of the expression, pop goes the weasel, and I'm sure you're much happier and wiser for it. However, when I was a kid, I used to ponder the commonplace lyrics of the song, Pop Goes the Weasel, like, round and round the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel, the monkey thought 'twas all in fun, pop goes the weasel. And I'm thinking, what kind of nightmare world is this? Monkeys chasing weasels around mulberry bushes? This is my vision of hell. A monkey chasing a weasel around a mulberry bush for all eternity. And so, with that in mind, I thought I'd talk a little bit about what I believe. I believe that every newborn comes to this world, every newborn child comes to this world with a message for mankind. And that message is, I've wet myself and I'm hungry. A good message. Anyhow, I am the wrong hero. Half cat, half dog. And so when I talk, what I'm really saying is, just so you know. You know, I love my dog, and when my dog leaves a doo-doo on the rug, I don't spank him with ordinary newspapers. I have a special newspaper. It has his picture on the face on it. It has his picture on the front page, and the headline reads, "Bad Dog." And there's an editorial on page 2. "Kippy leaves doo-doo on rug. This must stop." And on page 3, ads for carpet cleaners and the like. You ever notice when you feed your dog inferior dog food, he tends to get the runs? That's because, my friend, those inferior brands of dog food don't have meat. They have soy at best, cornmeal, starch, nuclear tailings from power plants. You know, you never know what's in that dog food. So do your dog and yourself a favor. Don't give him the inferior dog foods. Now give him raw meat. Buy a pet cow. Let him take big bites out of the flank. And he'll be singing "Flanks for the Memories" before you know it. Now here's another thing I like to do. You know, I have a pet cat. Well, not really, but for the purposes of this monologue, let's assume I do. Well, I like to hang a little catnip mouse over the baby's crib. Because, you know, basically I run the house to suit the cat. So I hang a catnip mouse over the baby's crib so that when Kitty gets done sucking the breath out of baby, he can have himself a little nosh. Because, you know, it's hungry work. Well, I really got to tell you something about my dog. Every time my dog sees me, he jumps for joy. That's because he knows I'm fixing to leave a bouillon cube in the toilet bowl. Yeah, I really hate it though. You know, don't you hate it when you're taking a piss and, well, anyway, and the toilet lid slams down? And it's even worse, like when the dog is drinking out of the toilet and you're taking a piss and the toilet lid slams down. I mean, that's a real nightmare day from hell, if you know what I mean. Anyhow, my dog recently had his 21st birthday. That's 3 in human years. And so I thought I'd give him a special treat. I thought I'd buy him his first beer. Well, sir, let me tell you. The dog got so excited. He ate the cake. He ate the candles. He knocked over the whale-fat lamp on the table and set the house on fire. And so now we live in the forest. And you want to know what? That dog still eats better than I do. Yeah? My dog took me to court. Well, actually, you know, my German Shepherd, he turned on me. He took me to small claims court. And the dog awarded him a box of sausages and some kibbles and bits for emotional distress. Anyhow, you know, they say how your dog is your best friend. And I'm like, yeah, sure. All my best friends piss in the corner. All my best friends kill chickens. All my best friends huck kibbles and bits onto the linoleum. All my best friends fuck in the streets. All my best friends beg for treats with their genitalia exposed. And I'm like, yeah, dog's my best friend, that's for sure. Well, you ever notice that your own dog can do no wrong? Like, you know, he attacks school children in the schoolyard. Oh, well, you know, they must have teased him. And it's like, I don't know, your dog is basically your animal self, right? You identify with him every bit as much, how, albeit in a different way, as he identifies with you. Anyway, having a pet is a good way to meet girls. One of my favorite pickup lines, whenever I see a nicely attired young lady out walking her dog, and she's not wearing a wedding ring, signifying that she is currently unattached, is to say to her, actually, not to address her, but to say to her dog, "Say, Mr. Doggy, do you think your mistress could give me 50 cents so I can buy a bottle of coffee?" It's charming, you know, how alcoholics who are panhandling for change like to create the fiction that, in fact, the money is going to go not to alcohol, but to good, strong black coffee. That'll sober you up in a hurry. It's like between me and respectability stands you and your 50 cents or $1. If you don't give me the 50 cents, I'll go on a drunken binge. But if you do give me the 50 cents, that will be my first step up the ladder back to respectability, because with that 50 cents, I can buy a good, strong cup of black coffee, which will instantly shake the fuzziness out of my head and enable me to make plans to better myself. And then, because I'm sober, I'll be able to panhandle another 50 cents. That will go a ways towards purchasing a razor, and I can shave. And then I can panhandle more money. I gotta get that. I'll be right back. Wow, talk about breaking your rhythm. Well, that was the guy from Fox Toyota in East Providence, Rhode Island. He was telling me that, well, yeah, your starter bolts basically disconnected, and your starter became disengaged from the assembly of the pickup truck, and that's why it wouldn't start. And the AAA guy just reached down in there and put it back where it belonged. But it's symptomatic of a bigger problem, and it basically has to do with the U-joints, which need to be replaced at a cost of over $250. And hopefully your yoke isn't damaged. Hopefully the fact that you've been driving it at 80 miles an hour, in spite of the fact that it was shaking so severely that things in the rear view mirror looked like an LSD trip, hopefully the yoke is not damaged. If it is, that's an expensive repair. That's $500 right there. And I'm like whistling. Whoa, I sure hope it's not that. Well, it looks like it's not badly damaged, but we'll see. So I'll find out tomorrow. Because you see, they have to go up to North Attleboro to get the part. You know, and that's it's a good, I don't know, 20 miles away. Woo! 20 miles, I don't know, that's quite a schlep, boss. So I can't have my truck till tomorrow, but I wasn't expecting to have it tonight anyway, so that's neither here nor there. In fact, I won't even have it tomorrow, because he's not going to call me till like 3 in the afternoon, and I'll be at work. And so I'll get out of work at 7:30. I'll have to give him my credit card number over the phone, and you can leave the key in the truck, and then I can somehow break into my own truck and start it up and take it away, and that'll be nice. Nothing but pleasantness involved in automobiles. Yes, sir. Now let's see. I've almost forgotten what the hell was I talking about. Oh yeah, the notion that if you give a street person money to buy strong coffee, that will somehow lead to his slowly building an empire, because once he gets the strong coffee, he'll be able to shake the bats out of his belfry. Once he does that, that will lead to his being able to buy a razor, and once he buys the razor and shaves, then he'll be able to panhandle more money, because people like to give their money to respectable-looking homeless people. They don't like to give it to the disreputable kind who is only going to squander it on cheap alcoholic beverages with a high sugar content, which will create hangovers but supply certain nutrients which are sorely lacking in their diet. So with that shave, he'll be able to panhandle more money and maybe go to Goodwill or something and shoplift a suit. in increments. With the suit, perhaps he'll be able to panhandle enough money to afford a room in a flop house which has a telephone at the end of the hallway. Of course, there are no such things as flop houses in the Boston area anymore. He would probably have to move somewhere out in the suburbs with inconsistent and unreliable bus service, if any. Let's say that somehow he's able to find a sympathetic realtor who will let him use a room which is really, literally, little more than a closet-sized place with barely enough room for a bed and nothing else, and a phone, a payphone down the hall. Let's say you could somehow get this for $200, $300 a month, or you could find a room, share a room in a small apartment with 3 other people for about that sum of money. All right, so he's back on his feet. Now it's time to start looking for a job. You can't find a job unless you have a suit, a jacket, a shirt, a clean shirt, a tie. You're at least well groomed. That involves buying soap and detergent to wash your clothing. I mean, it's a full-time job being totally impoverished. So because your 50 cents put him back on the road to respectability via strong black coffee. And where in the hell can you get a cup of coffee for 50 cents anymore anyway? Eventually he's able to find some sort of job which barely keeps him in enough money to keep his apartment going and to buy food. Maybe he goes to Haymarket on Saturdays at about 6 p.m. and scrounges the leftovers and brings them home, and that's his food for the week. So he finds some sort of job. It pays, let's be generous and say it pays $7.08 an hour, and he works 40 hours a week with no overtime. Well, it's $280 a week, but after taxes, and they tax people who make that kind of money, it's a sin. Well, let's see, that takes a good $60 bite. So he's making $220 a week. It's $880 a month. That's a little more than $10,000 a year. With rent at, say, $300 a month, I mean, you could just barely scrape by on that. And it's all because of a 50-cent cup of coffee, my friend. So never forget that. Perhaps rather than giving him the 50 cents, you could give him a voucher for 1 cup strong coffee at nearest retail establishment. Pay to bearer on demand, or give him one of those 75-cent coupons that the Stop and Shop hands out when you buy something that enables you to get one of these coupons. Whatever. Now he's really smart. He gets the triple coupons from his neighbor's paper, and he cuts them out, and he cuts the coupons from discarded Sunday newspapers, which he has to buy anyway to get the want ads. And the way that they lay out the want ads in the Boston Globe, it's not really very conducive to job hunting. It's not really on any sort of logical or systematic scheme, it seems to me, whereas the one in the Providence Journal, now, that's laid out a lot more clearly, and you could probably whip through that sucker in an hour. But everybody knows that looking for a job is a full-time job in and of itself. So our man is, say, he's working at the deli counter at the Stop and Shop or something. He's not union, so he's making like $7.08 an hour. He has to, buy some clothing. That's like $200 right there. He doesn't have any credit of any kind, so he has to pay cash for everything. Because, the Goodwill suit only lasts for 1 interview, and then you had to start buying clothes. I mean, it's tough, to pull yourself back up. No pension plan, nothing like that. Say you get sick, you got no sick leave. I mean, it's just a very precarious situation. Nevertheless, your 50 cents put him back on the road to respectability, and for that you should be praised. Perhaps when you die and St. Peter meets you at the gate, and when all the saints come out to meet you, they say, well, you've been a thoroughly rotten shithead, Donald Trump. You've put a lot of people out of business. You've destroyed the livelihoods of a lot of people. But you did give that alcoholic bum 50 cents, and he pulled himself back up by his bootstraps. Now, if the government were really smart, maybe, just maybe, they would make it easier for people who are in an unfortunate circumstance to to slowly claw their way back up to respectability without putting undue impediments in their path. All this from one simple jest. Isn't it just amazing? Anyway, a recent survey, actually it's not that recent, it was like 1994 or something, states that 33% of people talk to their pets on their phones or their answering machines. And you know, people are really indulgent about their pets. So it's like, what's next? Hi, this is Rex. I can't come to the phone right now because I'm off killing chickens, but just leave your name and a number and I'll bark you up when I get a chance. Well, what I'm thinking is more and more people are becoming bored with dogs and cats, and they're looking to find more exotic types of pets. And someday I think there's going to be a really big market, not only for health food restaurants and natural food stocks and bonds, and vegetarian, the vegetarian fund. We invest only in companies which sell vegetarian goods. We do not invest in meat. Just like those tobacco-free mutual funds, meat-free mutual funds, sexism-free mutual funds, non-racist mutual funds, cruelty-free mutual funds. We help the homeless mutual funds. These lemon essence pitted prunes are not only delicious, but a good example of what I'm talking about. Go for the lemon ones, because the orange ones are okay, but they're not that great. My girlfriend says, these have a lot of iron in them, don't they? I ate a whole bunch of them. I think she ate about maybe 5 of them. And she said, I could taste the iron. Well, 5 of these prunes would give you 2% of your minimum daily requirement of iron. And the entire box, just to give you a good idea, would give you about 16% of your minimum daily requirement of iron, which is approximately 1/6. So you'd have to eat 6 boxes of these in order to get your daily minimum requirement of iron, and you would probably shit out every other nutrient in your body if you were to eat even so much as 1 complete box of these in one day. Well, prunes are great, you know, but basically they're just dried plums. And so when they say prunes have more nutrients pound per pound than an equivalent amount of other fruits, it's like, yeah, because they're dried fruit. Dried fruit, of course, is going to have more vitamins because it's dried fruit. Anyway, I'm beginning to sound like Bill Cosby. I was talking about exotic pets. Like, you know, they're going to have to manufacture food for these exotic pets. Like tarantula chow. Is your spider or arachnid restless? Well, get them some tarantula chow. Scorpions love it too. Or if you, like most Americans, have a 2,000-pound bear chained to a stake in your backyard, why not get him Bruin litter? Comes in convenient 50-pound size and new boxcar economy size. So anyway, well, they also say that, you know, people buy these pet alligators and then they flush them down the toilet, which I guess, you know, would be the logical thing for a person to do if they were irresponsible enough to buy a pet alligator. Just flush it down this. I'm tired of this pet alligator. It's getting too big. It ate the dog the other day. Guess I'll flush it down the toilet, where it lives in the sewer, an albino alligator, blind albino alligator. And I'm wondering, well, what if you could harvest these blind albino alligators, which are presumably, or at least allegedly, living in our sewers? What would they taste like? They probably taste like chicken because they would have been raised under similar circumstances. Well, anyway, I hope that, like, all of you folks out there who are watching this are like laughing hilariously at this merry little jape and this jolly Sally of mine. Gives me time to sort of go roar, 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 while I think of the next thing to talk about. The Manic Kingdom. It's like you give Mickey Mouse steroids. It's like, thanks for the steroids, Uncle Walt. Or you give Goofy some hash. It's like, thanks for the hash. Strawberry. Yes. Well, I was addicted to placebos, and so I decided to taper off and use placebo light with only half the inert ingredients of regular placebos. And of course, I strongly endorse the entire family of placebo products. Placebo red, inactive, inert, ingredient-free placebos, and you know, the other fine placebo products like placebo light, placebo 100s, placebo slims, placebo slim 100s, and placebo ultra light, and so forth. Say, pagans, tired of worshiping oak trees and painting your bodies blue? Well, step up to Christianity, because Christianity gives you three gods in one. So anyway, now it's time for John the Baptist for No Look. Friends, do you eat locusts? Do locusts stain your teeth? Try this simple test. Breathe into the shroud of Turin. If it turns brown, you need No Look, the locust eater's tooth polish. Comes in regular flavor and new gall and wormwood. Well, anyhow, this is short and sweet and to the point, isn't it? And I'm glad, because if this were actually an hour long, I would probably be late for work. You know, I really have to start budgeting my time more efficiently. How do you like this? You can take a look at the squalor in which the wrong hero does his presentations. That's an added bonus for you. Well, I think that basically I'm angry because there's nothing to be angry about anymore. There's nothing to protest. You know, back in the earlier part of the century, say in the 1950s, it was the Cold War and ban the bomb and you know, racism and segregation in the 60s, that whole movement, and then the Vietnam War, the Cold War by proxy that we were engaged in with Russia and China, and once that was over, you know, there was the 70s and things sort of quieted down a little bit, but then there was South Africa and legalizing marijuana and stuff, and well, you know, 1 out of 2 ain't bad. And then in the 80s, it was, you know, Ronald Reagan got everybody upset about nuclear armaments, and there was the unilateral disarmament, which, you know, was a big deal in the early 80s, but then it went through in 1989, 1990. Nobody raised a peep. It's like, oh yeah, nuclear bombs that can destroy the entire world have been disarmed. Next. So now there's nothing to be angry about. There's nothing to protest anymore. Even Food Not Bombs, for which I came up with the name, incidentally, changed their name to something else because, you know, it was irrelevant. Guns and butter, you know, it's not really that much of an issue, although, of course, it is an issue. The military budget hasn't gone down under a Democratic president. Because it's a conservative Democratic president, I think it's actually gone up. And although the economy is in boom times, I think that the Dow Jones Industrial peaking, you know, hitting 7,000, I don't know, that doesn't sound good to me. I think we're in for another stock market crash, The coming crash of 1995X, 1997X, 2002X, well, it's going to come sometime, probably. Of course, there's stricter controls now, so it's less likely that a devastating crash on the nature of the 1929 crash could ever happen again. Anyway, there's nothing to protest. So it's like, what can you protest? Fatty foods, like, no more mayonnaise, down with eggs, down with eggs. No. See, that doesn't work. It's like ice cream out of my mouth. You just can't do it. So that's basically it. There's nothing to protest. Now, I hope that I've lived up to my name, The Wrong Hero, No Ordinary Man, which incidentally, and coincidentally, is the title of this presentation. I hope I've managed to show you that somehow I am, indeed, no ordinary man. However, here's a social reform that I think is long overdue, as long as a significant portion of this presentation was devoted to the issue of the homeless. Maybe we should replace homeless shelters with heartless shelters, where heartless people can go to hide from the homeless. But, of course, we already have those. They're called suburbs. Hi, I'm the Wrong Hero, and this has been my presentation, as if I have to say this yet again, of No Ordinary Man. And next week, we'll be bringing you yet another thrilling, fun-packed, entertaining, and insightful episode of, look at my crutch, The Wrong Hero. And this has been Cafe Cabaret. You have seen The Wrong Hero with his presentation of No Ordinary Man. This is the shortest Cafe Cabaret I've ever done, but next week we'll be doing at least an hour, and the show will be called Peculiar Thinking, or Peculiar Thinking. And I thank you for your continued patience with my dilatory attempts to fill 2 hours every week. We'll be going back to a 2-hour schedule sometime in the next few weeks. So until that time, this is The Wrong Hero, bidding you